Chapter 3. Lawrence found himself sitting in another black room. The chair had fallen straight down through a shaft, rushing him downwards, coming to an abrupt stop. His heart raced from the pure fear and excitement of the fall. Now he sat calmly, straining his eyes to look into the new-found darkness. He could make out a black board and a desk. A bookshelf appeared on his left, filled hundreds of books across, along with a TV on his right, nearly filling up the wall that contained it. The lights above Lawrence flickered, attempting to come to life. Lawrence looked up to notice lights. They were unlike anything he had ever seen before. They gave light, yet had a design about them unlike the lights of his community. They glowed blue, and were shaped like half-circles, hugging the walls. He was in a room that was rectangular, from what Lawrence could tell. But then again, there wasn't too much he could see from his chair. The room was a silent black, a sleeping darkness, waiting to be awoken. A door from the back of the room opened, and a man walked in. He wore all black, and even had on black sunglasses. The room came to life at the sound of his footsteps. He walked up to Lawrence, put his arm around his shoulder, and leaned down to him in the chair. He took a moment to think before speaking. "Why don't you fear us, Lawrence Clark?" Lawrence turned his head to face the man before responding. "It's hard to fear something that you know is a rudimentary lie. Besides, the people shouldn't fear their government. The government should fear their people." The man stared into Lawrence's eyes before coldly responding. "The government does fear their people, especially when they are sickly and ill." Lawrence watched the man walk around him to the desk. At first, Lawrence couldn't believe his eyes. The board in the room wasn't black, it was white. He had never seen anything like it before in his life. Its purpose was just as confusing. "You believe that concealing your fear will help you? Because, Mr. Lawrence, you are sadly mistaken. We own the government, and we control the people. There is nowhere you can ever run and hide that we won't find you." "What do you mean?" "We see everything, everywhere, all the time, and we get funds by curing diseases in laboratories like this one. In complete essence, we should be thanking your community, Lawrence Clark." "Why?" "Because you are giving us the most important cure yet. The final cure." Lawrence looked at the man before questioning the situation. "What do you mean?" "Your blood is compatible with the cure we have stumbled upon." The man paused for a moment. "To think, you could have been like the rest of the people on the list and died with the rest of those people in your community, and then we would never have had this opportunity." Lawrence looked into the man's eyes, confused and questioning everything. He coldly stared at him with the first light of anger he had been forced to feel in this place. "What is the list?" The man looked at him, laughing at his stupidity. "The list was a group of people who we engineered the cure for. They were picked because their DNA was most closely related. They were the ones who weren't supposed to contract the side effects of the cure, the heart failure, the blindness. However, you were the only one that survived, proving that the deaths of all those people wasn't a total waste." Lawrence gritted his teeth together as he looked at the man in disgust and vile hatred. "I can't wait to watch you rot in hell." The man laughed at the thought of it and walked around Lawrence to the back of the chair. "Don't worry, I'm not a monster. We're just going to test the perfectly formed cure to see how much it can handle. See, Lawrence, what you have inside of your body is only a piece of the pure power behind this cure. Mr. Connor will analyze you later, but for now you will be placed under confinement." Lawrence snarled. "Men, take Lawrence away." The man patted Lawrence lightly on the shoulder before he walked over to one of the scientists and whispered something in his ear, but Lawrence was far too angry to make out the whispers. The man walked to the door before halting and coming back to Lawrence, speaking over his shoulder. "Oh, and Lawrence, when you no longer serve any purpose, you can expect me to be standing next to you with a gun to your head." The man walked out as two men in pure white suits walked in next to Lawrence, looking exactly like the men on the surface. They set down a briefcase on the table, opened it, and took out a syringe. "What are you doing to me?" questioned Lawrence as he jerked violently in his chair while the two men looked bleakly at each other. The first man walked over to Lawrence and tied a rubber hose around his arm, pushing his veins out of his skin. The second man walked over to Lawrence and paused before taking the liquid from its glass container. "You're going to wish you were never born. I promise that this will be the end of you." Lawrence looked at his black-coated mask and sneered at him for a moment before the man stuck the needle into his veins. He pushed down, and Lawrence could feel the liquid go into him. It was cold and forced his body to shake and jump. Then he felt his body go into a sudden shock and collapse into his self-contained chair. There was nothing except darkness surrounding him until he heard a single voice. "Kid didn't even have a chance."